Hey everyone, before we jump in, we've noticed a lot of you listen regularly, which is fantastic, but maybe haven't hit that subscribe button yet. If you're enjoying the show, please take just a second to like and subscribe. It really helps us out.
It does. Thanks for that.
Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a really insightful conversation. It's from episode 292 of the About That Wallet podcast, and it features William R. Young. He's a CFP, a certified financial planner, and also an APMA at Liberty Wealth Management.
Yeah, and this one feels particularly relevant because we know so many of you listening are probably in that challenging spot, maybe raising kids, looking after your own parents, sometimes both at the same time.
Exactly, the sandwich generation. It comes with this unique mix of pressures, right?
Yeah.
Financial, emotional, it's a lot.
It really is. So our mission here is to pull out the key stuff from William's chat, the insights that can genuinely help you, if you're in that situation, handle the financial side and build up that mental resilience.
We're looking for those practical tips, those mindset shifts that can maybe bring a bit more clarity, make things feel a little less overwhelming.
And William shares quite a bit professional insight, sure, but also stuff from his own life. He covers everything from staying emotionally steady when things are chaotic to nuts and bolts long-term financial planning.
Okay, so let's unpack it. First up, William really zeroes in on something foundational: our mental and emotional well-being. He actually mentions stats about how many people struggle with depression or mental health generally.
And he makes this really direct link, doesn't he, between financial hardship and, increased mental strain.
Yeah.
Which, if you're juggling care for kids and parents, that financial pressure can be intense. So the impact on your emotional state,
Yeah.
it's very real.
Absolutely. But he doesn't just point out the problem. He talks about strategies, proactive things, like his morning routine. That really jumped out at me.
Oh yeah, the 40 minutes.
40 minutes total. Walking, audiobooks, 10 minutes per book apparently, and meditation. That's a serious commitment.
It is. And it makes you think, especially when your schedule feels totally packed, how do you actually make that space? He calls it a gymnasium for the mind, that solitude, even if it's cold out.
Yeah. A mental workout. And what he fills that time with is interesting too: stoicism. He found it through Seneca, Tim Ferriss.
Right, the idea of blocking out distractions, focusing inward.
He even connects it back to ancient Rome and the Colosseums being distractions, comparing it to today's constant information bombardment. The need to tune out isn't new, I guess.
And this wasn't an overnight thing for him. He mentioned his personal growth journey started, about 17 years ago?
Yeah.
And it tied into him understanding himself better, communication differences, being on the spectrum. So that self-awareness piece seems really key to finding ways to cope and build resilience.
And the Stoic principles he found useful: virtue, excellence, and that big one, the dichotomy of control.
Focusing on what you can influence, your attitude, your actions, not the stuff you can't.
Reminds me of Viktor Frankl, who we also mentioned. Control your attitude, even in the worst circumstances.
Exactly. And that need for solitude, he really stresses it. Especially for busy parents, caregivers. It's where you build that inner strength.
He also made a point that stuck with me: discipline over talent.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We all know super talented people who don't quite get there.
Right. And maybe less naturally gifted people who are just incredibly disciplined and consistent, and they achieve amazing things.
So for you, listening, feeling pulled everywhere, maybe focusing on cultivating discipline in just one small area could make a difference. It puts the control back in your court,
Yeah, even when everything else feels chaotic, small, consistent actions.
They add up. Financially, personally.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit. Goal setting and financial planning. William says you have to write down your personal goals, not just, go to work.
Which he admits is maybe tough in your 20s, life feels wide open.
Yeah.
But later on, crucial.
And he has this framework: needs, wants, and dreams.
I like that. Needs, wants, dreams. It clarifies things, gives you a roadmap for the financial plan. His own dream: surfing in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Having that aspirational thing, even if it feels far off, can really motivate your choices today.
Totally. And he strongly suggests working with a financial advisor who is 100% focused on the planning part.
Not just picking stocks.
Right. Because the news, the market noise, it's overwhelming, especially when your time and energy are already stretched thin caring for family. Having an expert guide makes sense.
And his take on investing: it's about patience.
Yeah.
And having cash ready.
Yeah, that was interesting. Keeping even aggressive investors partly in cash, like 30%, to jump on opportunities when markets dip.
It's a balance, isn't it? Caution and readiness. And keeping that long-term view during volatility. focusing on good companies.
Which ties right back to Stoicism, right? Control your strategy, your attitude. You can't control the daily market swings.
So true. Which brings us neatly to the mental side of money again and seeking support. He asks this interesting question: should you maybe see a therapist before a financial advisor?
Given how common mental health struggles are and how money stress makes it worse, especially for the sandwich generation, it's a really valid point to consider.
He's open about his own experience, too. Therapy, ongoing coaching. He walks the walk.
Definitely. It shows he values getting outside perspectives for growth. He suggests casting a wide net for support therapists, coaches, mentors. Different people offer different insights.
I loved his garden metaphor.
Well, yeah.
Quiet for growth, knowledge is sunlight, weeding out bad habits.
Yeah.
It's such a good picture of the ongoing work needed for well-being, financial and personal.
And finding your tribe, your community, people who get it. When you're juggling so much, connecting with others in the same boat, it's huge.
Hugely validating. He also made that sharp distinction, being broke versus a poor mindset.
Right. Broke is temporary. Poor is a mindset. That learned helplessness. And watch out for people who undermine you, the ones destroying your plants, as he put it.
Oof. Yeah. Which connects to prioritizing yourself, watering your own plants first so you can actually care for others long term. It's not selfish, it's necessary.
Foundational.
Yeah.
And healthy relationships are part of that. Protects you financially too, prevents exploitation. Having trustworthy people around you is vital when you're stretched thin.
Sometimes, he says, you might even need to change your environment to find peace. That's a big step, but maybe necessary.
And a really practical tip, especially if you feel overwhelmed, saying no.
Oh man, yes. Protecting your time, your energy. He actually schedules reminders, structures his calendar to enforce boundaries. Says try saying no, like 25 times a day to build the muscle.
Wow, 25, that's ambitious. But the principle is key, avoiding decision fatigue.
He then talks about his dad's influence. Really positive, supportive through mistakes, career changes.
Which he acknowledges isn't everyone's experience, making it even more significant for him. It highlights how much those supportive figures matter.
And knowing what kind of support someone needs is a practical help, just listening,
Yeah.
or a verbal hug.
Good point. Plus, giving thanks, focusing feedback on actions, not the person. Constructive stuff for any relationship, especially family. Resilience comes from owning mistakes and changing course.
What about comparing ourselves to others? He warns against that, especially financially. You don't see the full story, the sacrifices.
True. It's about focusing on your own path, training your mind daily, like exercise. Psychology, stoicism tools for focus, emotional intelligence.
Okay, let's talk about advice for parents. Super relevant for our listeners. Financial education for kids is critical, he says, especially now with housing costs and everything.
Yeah, encouraging saving early, even if it feels tough. Talk about things like Roth IRAs.
Right, explaining the long-term benefits, tax-free growth, accessing principal later, but framing it as long-term growth, not, gambling.
And helping them see a bigger picture beyond just their friends or immediate world. Encourage exploring different interests. He didn't figure out finance until he was 30.
There's hope for us all. And trying to maintain that joyful energy as life gets more complex. Reading, too, gaining perspective, seeing you're not alone in challenges.
Looking at his own path, he's writing a book now, right?
Yeah.
About living a transformative life, not just transactional.
Yeah, and he's used journaling, note-taking for 20 years to track his own growth. Consistent self-reflection.
He admits growth is hard, like climbing a mountain slowly, but rewarding. And vulnerability is key, connecting. Learning from feedback.
He keeps learning, too, reading widely. History of the Bible, Howard Zinn, Why Nations Fail, getting different perspectives.
That commitment to learning is clear. And again, vulnerability builds resilience, owning it all.
So how does he define wealth? It's not just a number.
No, it's about independence, not needing income from others, assets sustaining your life. So you have freedom. Freedom to do charity work, pursue passions, help others.
Like his George Clooney example, selling the tequila company for big money gave him independence for philanthropy. Wealth is freedom to live your values.
Exactly. Freedom from external control.
Okay, the unavoidable question. Worst money mistake.
Yes. He lost, 80% in the 2008 crisis? In 1 week.
Wow. Because he didn't fully grasp the irrational exuberance, the market dynamics back then. Lehman Brothers, margin calls. Ouch.
A really painful lesson led him to be much more cautious, emphasizing having capital on the side. He sees parallels now, advises caution.
That 30% cash idea comes back here. Being ready for opportunities, but also resisting that urge to desperately make back losses quickly. Patience again.
So, inspiring book. He mentioned The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis, said he's read it 9 times.
9 times? Why that one?
Daniel Kahneman's story resonated, feeling different, the journey of self-discovery. And the book itself, about behavioral economics, Kahneman and Tversky heuristics, biases.
How our psychology messes with our decisions.
Totally. He mentioned an anecdote about Kahneman's survival during the Nazi era, really showing human complexity. The book helped him understand and embrace his own emotions.
Sounds powerful. Okay, lighter note. Favorite dish?
Salmon salad. Simple. Romaine Romano cheese croutons.
Right.
But, get this, no dressing.
Really?
Yeah, he wants to taste the salmon if it's cooked right, appreciating the basics.
I like it. Okay, so if people want to find out more about William R. Young,
He said just search his name online, Will R. Young. He stressed his focus 21 years of personal financial planning, built on relationships, helping people align plans with their goals, no judgment.
and his website.
willyoung.com. WILLRYOUNG.com.
Perfect. Well, that was a really rich discussion. So many takeaways there, especially I think for anyone juggling work, kids, parents, that whole complex picture.
Definitely. And remember, this was just our distillation. For the full conversation, check out episode 292 of About That Wallet on YouTube or wherever you listen. And consider joining their newsletter too. AboutThatWallet.com newsletter.
Great advice. Okay, final thought for you to chew on. Think about those small, consistent actions William talked about. Maybe it's 5 minutes of quiet time each morning. Maybe it's writing down just one financial goal this week. How could those tiny steps, compounded over time, start building more financial and mental resilience for you and your family? Something to think about.